today I was packaging up something that I'm sending out to someone. It's a tincture that I'm mailing off tomorrow. And I just wanted to take a quick video and talk about it a little bit because I thought it was a very important herb to discuss. I don't think a lot of people know about it. Certainly not enough people know about it. And it's Gymnema sylvestre. And I've made a tincture here of Gymnema leaf. And as you can see, it's a very dark liquid here. And I've bottled it up. And the reason that I want to take a break from the herbal first aid videos that I'm making and publish this now, just because I'm in the middle of packaging it up and I wanted to get some images of the bottles before it was all packed up. This is one of those herbs that you've never heard of, but you should have, especially if you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And that's correct, I said type 1. If you are preparing for long-term emergencies and survival, and you are someone who either is dependent upon insulin or you know someone who is, there's a loved one of yours that is, this is something you might want to look into. Now, I'm not going to make any promises that this is like the equivalent of insulin. Not going to do that. It's not the same thing. I'm not going to make any promises that this is going to cure you of type 1 diabetes or type 2. However, what I want to do is make you aware of its history, its historical traditional use, and a modern study that was done. And from there, I'm going to hope that you will do your own research on it and make a decision about whether you want to include this in your preps or not. Now, there are a number of chronic issues, chronic diseases, chronic conditions, that when preppers start, coming up with our backup plans as to how we'll handle this or how we'll handle that in an SHTF situation, an end of the world as we know it situation, a collapse, whatever. One of those conditions that we just kind of throw our hands up in the air and say, sorry, we got nothing for that. That's really one of those things we can't do anything about. One of those is type 1 or insulin-dependent diabetes. That may or may not be true for some. And let me explain what I mean by that. In India, this is known as the destroyer of sugar. When you take it, it eliminates your ability to taste sweet. And it also has an effect upon the pancreas where it helps to regenerate the beta cells of the pancreas. So the pancreas starts to secrete its own insulin again, and the body begins to use that insulin more efficiently. This was demonstrated, it's a single study, and I will say the drawbacks about that in a moment, but there was a study done where those involved in this test, 60% of them at the end of it had actually reversed their type 1 diabetes. They required no more insulin and no more Gymnema leaf. They had another section of it, the remaining 40%, where their type 1 diabetes was not reversed, but it was significantly improved, and they were still using Gymnema leaf to manage it, and the amount of Gymnema leaf had come down significantly. However, they were still dependent upon it. Now, scientifically, you would want to be able to duplicate these results. So you can't go by this one study. However, this herb does have a very long and traditional use in Ayurvedic herbs. That's their tradition of herbal medicine in India. And this is a very old remedy for diabetic conditions. So because of that, I wanted to mention it to you so that if this is something you wanted to investigate and research more about, you can then do that and decide if this is something that you wanted to keep, if you wanted to try it, if you wanted to store it, to stock it, because maybe you don't have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. There are also plenty of studies. If you go on to PubMed, you can also look up studies where they've used it to help people with type 2 diabetes as well as type 1. So please go on to PubMed and look up those studies. They are there for your perusal. Now, you may not have these conditions, but someone that you love may have these conditions. Someone in your neighborhood might, and you might not even know it. If you are preparing for long-term survival, it's nice to have other people with you. So even if it's not a concern of yours directly, maybe you might want to think about stocking up on this. And honestly, it doesn't take a whole lot to do this. You know, you fill up this jar, fill it up, a mason jar here, fill it up to the top with the leaf, which kind of looks sort of like this. You know, if it weren't labeled, then I might mistake this for something like nettle or spearmint. It's just, you know, a dry green leaf. Doesn't look like anything special. Certainly doesn't smell as nice as spearmint. But you would fill the mason jar up with that, and then you would cover it all with vodka, because you're using a dried plant material. So regular 80 proof vodka is going to be perfectly fine, because you want that water content in the vodka to help extract the water-soluble contents from the herb, along with the alcohol to extract the alcohol-soluble components of it, the constituents, excuse me. And you let that sit for 6 weeks. If you want this stronger, strain out after the 6 weeks it goes by, strain it out and put fresh plant material, well, I mean, it's dried, but put new plant material back into the jar, and that vodka that you have turned into a tincture now, the liquid that remained from when you strained out the first tincture, put that alcohol back into the jar with the new plant material. And you can do that up to 3 times. And that's about as concentrated as you're going to get it. But you can make different strengths of it that way if you'd like. And this stuff, as long as you're storing it in a cool, dark place, this stuff stores indefinitely. So it's really no skin off your back just to order the stuff, order the leaves, because I don't know anybody who actually grows Gymnema plants nearby. Although I can certainly tell you that I'm on the lookout for Gymnema seeds, because I want to try to grow this, because I think this is an extremely valuable plant. So I want to offer this on a continual basis. I don't know what the plant's needs are. It's probably not going to like New England weather, so I'm probably going to have to make some greenhouse accommodations for it, or maybe a sunroom or something. But I think it's a valuable plant to have. So here then you would bottle it in a dark amber bottle, and I've got my little what are these called? Eyedropper things here. Pipettes, that's what they're called. A glass pipette. And I've got my little tamper-resistant seal with the label on it. That's the name of my company, Herbwifery. I probably should get an herbal prepper label and put some herbal remedies together just for preppers. But, oh, let me see if you can see that. Herbwifery. There we go. There's 2 ounces. But that is my general herbal practice there. But anyway, I just like that label. So anyway, I keep saying so anyways. It's probably time to wrap it up when I start doing that. If you are interested in learning more, I'm going to be writing several articles to put on the website regarding type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And there are some other remedies that you can have on hand. It's really no big deal to have a few jars stocked up. You can have a lot of jars stocked up. If this is something that you anticipate that you might be needing, you know, if there were a collapse. Now, if you have read that book 1 second after, you know exactly why you need to have some kind of a backup plan if someone you love or yourself has type 1 diabetes. If you haven't read that book, please go read that book, because that's a great piece of prepper fiction there that does a great job of walking you through how to prepare for an EMP. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a missile with a nuke blasting in the atmosphere or a sunspot. It can be somebody hacking into the grid as well. So just, you know, keep that on the back burner here. You know, this would be, at least you have an option. it may not be the best option. It may not work as well. I'm not entirely sure because there's only the one study. So I can't say, well, there's many, many studies that have been able to duplicate these same results, these same wonderful results over and over again. And, honestly, I hate to say it, I don't anticipate there being studies to back up that initial study because it was so successful. I honestly can't imagine Big Pharma permitting there to be continued studies on this herb. I think that would just sort of fly in the face of everything Big Pharma does. So anyway, I'm going to package this up and get this out into the mail tomorrow, and along with a few other bottles. It's not just that bottle there. And I am going to sign out with you here, and join me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to check out my website, the podcast. I have a new live show. All this information is on my website. Please sign up for my newsletter so that you don't miss out on anything. And the next time we see each other, YouTube, I'll probably be talking about comfrey, some comfrey tinctures and comfrey poultices. This is Kat from herbalprepper.com signing out. See you next time.